The sister of Ruth Perry, the head teacher who took her own life 2 years ago after an Ofsted inspection, has urged the Education Secretary to delay introducing a new system of school report cards in England. Professor Julia Walters and the heads of 4 education unions are among those to sign a letter being sent to Bridget Phillipson. The Department for Education says it's determined to make inspections more powerful and more transparent. Here's our education correspondent, Hazel Shearing.
Professor Julia Waters and others have warned that proposed changes to the Ofsted inspection system this year will, in their words, continue to have a detrimental impact on the well-being of education staff. The new report cards will assess key aspects of each school, awarding 1 of 5 possible grades in each area. They're due to be introduced this autumn after Ofsted scrapped its old system of 1 or 2 word judgments. Today's letter calls on Bridget Phillipson to take the time needed to get change right. Ms Phillipson has previously said the new system would provide rich, granular insight to help deliver tailored support for struggling schools.
It's 13 minutes to 7. Single word judgments of schools on Ofsted reports may be out, but as the 12-week consultation closes on how our schools should be graded and reviewed moving forward, a group of school leaders, ex-school inspectors and trade unions still are not happy and have written to the Education Secretary. Chief amongst those unhappy signatories, Professor Julia Waters, whose sister, head teacher Ruth Perry, who took her own life in 2023 ahead of an inspection report being made public, which had downgraded her school from outstanding to inadequate, then led to a national debate about the mental health of school leaders and much more. Professor Julia Waters joins me on the line now. Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you tell us what you're asking the Education Secretary to do?
We're asking the Education Secretary to pause the plans to rush through so-called changes, which aren't really changes at all, and to get the necessary reforms of the punitive, competitive, dangerous school inspection system right. Stop, think again, consult properly, engage with the profession, engage with suicide prevention experts, and create a system that's safe, fair, effective, reliable, built on trust.
The Department for Education, a quote that we have from a spokesperson says, the department's consultations have provided an important opportunity for everyone to have their say, and both organisations will carefully consider all responses before finalising the approach. It sounds like this has been widely consulted.
The thing is, they haven't consulted on the right questions. At the inquest into my sister's death, the coroner warned that there was a risk of future deaths if only lip service was paid to learning from tragedies like Ruth's death. But in launching their consultations, neither the Ofsted nor the Department for Education even referred to Ruth's death. They make no reference to the Prevention of Future Deaths report, to the coroner's broader findings, to the very thorough Education Select Committee parliamentary inquiry that was held. Instead, they have proposed a new system that is really the old system with a few tweaks around the edges, and is not the radical reform that's needed.
What would that, if you don't mind me cutting across there, but just to say, what would that radical reform look like? Do you have any idea? I recognise it's not your job to come up with those answers, but have you got any thoughts on that?
Well, the Education Select Committee, the past Education Select Committee, recommended as their sort of first most urgent action, not only to get rid of single word judgments, but to look at the accountability systems that are already in place in other high-performing countries and to learn from those. And the important thing is to move away from a system that's punitive, that's high stakes, where head teachers risk losing their jobs on the say-so of a 2-day inspection, and move towards a system that's genuinely supportive, that drives school improvement and that can be trusted. And a system, my main concern, that is safe, that's safe for head teachers, for teachers, and therefore delivers for both parents and children.
And you're concerned if this goes ahead, you sound like you're saying it's not safe.
It's not safe. It's the same grade-based systems, the same risks that were identified in the system that had such a devastating effect on my sister and has on other head teachers are still there. It's still a system that's based on shame. It's still a system that's based on competition rather than support. It's still a system in which head teachers risk losing their jobs because of an inspection.
If there's an inspection,
seems unreliable.
if there is an inspection which shows that a head teacher perhaps should lose their job, though, you're not saying that that shouldn't happen, are you?
Well, I would just wonder in what situation we have a school where there's a head teacher who really is that appalling and alarm bells have already not been rung. I mean, there are capability HR processes in place that ought to kick in rather than this automatic academisation, and then all too often head teachers lose their jobs. There's, another problem with the Ofsted system is if a head teacher, a school feels that an inspection has been unfair, not been conducted correctly, there's no credible way of complaining or pushing back against that. Ofsted look at the complaint. So a complaint about Ofsted goes to Ofsted. Ofsted decides if it's to be upheld or not. And the vast majority of the time, it's not upheld. So the system as it's built is the stakes are so high and they are so stacked against the head teacher. I do not believe that there are large numbers of really incompetent or dangerous head teachers out there who are putting pupils at risk. And to create a system that's based on that presumption is wrong. There needs to be a system that is supportive, that's safe, that's fair, and that takes the warnings, the very real warnings of the coroner at my sister's inquest seriously and doesn't just try to ignore them and pretend that everything's okay and move on.
Professor Julia Waters, thank you for talking to us.